Hey. I can't.
You want me to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. I can't do it. What are you supposed to do? Say hey? It was so weird. I understand now.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a big responsibility that I've been carrying this whole time.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
What? No. Sorry.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, me?
I'll go.
No, I can do it.
No, because you're not going.
Well, we have... Okay. Hey, welcome back. I'm John.
I'm Sierra.
And this is...
And they were readers. There's no context for the laughter.
Fine. Okay. Hey.
You're gonna just cut them all together. Just cut them. Hey.
Remember that one song in Hamilton?
Hey.
Hello. I'm John.
And I'm Sierra.
And this is...
And they were readers.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. This video is going to be our February and January wrap-up.
I'm so excited.
Not
because I read a lot of books.
Yeah, I'll let you explain your...
But because he read a lot of books.
Yeah.
So my January and February were, how did you say?
Busy?
Quite busy.
Yeah.
Excessively so. Don't recommend, actually. I'm not like trying to promote busyness. It was just crazy. And so I did in fact read 3 books. However, 2 of them were for school. But I think that's fine. I think
if you read more than 3, because you read Colleen Hoover's.
You're right. I just forget about them.
If you want to know what we thought about the Colleen Hoover books, click up here. We won't cover it in this video.
Nope, not at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, we gave our thoughts.
Yep.
But I do think I want to represent all of the people who really had goals to read a lot, who really desperately, deeply wanted to read more, but just could not do it based upon the circumstances. And you know what? That happens, first of all. And also, if you're reading, you're winning.
Amen.
And I think that there's not enough representation for us who do not read a lot sometimes, okay? There needs to be more.
It's okay.
Anyway. Truly, I think that... What?
I know, it was just like...
So sentimental.
Here to here,
Yeah,
which is like good.
I'm like good at that, you know?
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Keep going.
No, truly, I think that it's important to like reflect on yourself and just say, hey, look, it's okay if I'm not reading a lot. Don't compare yourself to anyone on the internet when it comes to reading books and how much you're reading, because some of these booktubers, John today, read an insane amount of books, and they should be applauded for the work that they put in to give us content for the reading, but you should not feel guilty if you weren't able to read as much.
100%. On the other side of that, I am here to represent the people that had nothing else going on, and therefore had a lot of time to consume literature. And that is what I did. Okay?
Heck yeah.
So we're going to jump into it. Since I have an excessive amount of books and Sierra has a lack of books, she's going to choose from the books that I have literally sprawled out onto the ground. And then I'm going to review them as she hands them to me.
Okay, I'm really excited. I would like to start with romantic comedy. Okay, a little insider. We started rolling. And we did not record audio.
Yeah.
And I chose a different book for my first one, so I was very caught off guard.
This was a plot twist. It really got me. Anyway, this is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. John, romantic comedy, why did you do that? Good question. I am trying my best to read different genres, right? As we've said. And romance is a genre that I'm lacking. And I had tried to watch a romantic comedy movie. I think it was No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. Hated it.
Oh no.
It was so rough.
That's tough.
And so I was scrolling through my Libby app, and I was like, I have access to my entire library, and I am not using it. Romantic comedy, Curtis Sittenfeld. So the idea of this book is we follow a female lead. She works at what is basically SNL.
Yes.
It's called The Night Owls, I think. TNO.
I haven't read it.
And it's witty, it's funny, it gets into the behind the scenes of what it might look like to work for SNL, to work for a show like that. And that part was cool. The writing is funny, which I always love. It started off, and the person reading it, I was like, oh, this is clever, this is funny, right? Which makes sense because they're writers for an SNL type show. The idea, the core concept of this book is there's a trend in society where female celebrities tend to date down and you'll be like, wow, she's really beautiful, and then there's this guy. How did he do that?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really happen the other way around, right? So the whole idea of this book is, oh, but it can happen the other way around. Sometimes the guy does lower his standards, and I was like,
weird.
I was like, what are we doing? So
why are we playing into those stereotypes?
Yeah.
Though?
So that was just an interesting thing to base the entirety of the book on. Something I will say for this book, it's the first book that I've read that covers the pandemic. Like, the characters go through the pandemic.
Oh.
Yes. So, like, they leave New York, everything shuts down, she goes back home to her, I want to say stepdad, lives with him.
Does it feel weird?
It was interesting. I think it did a good job at capturing the fact that during the pandemic, especially right close to the beginning of everything shutting down, it simultaneously felt like everything and nothing was happening at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were in this weird, like, liminal state of, there's a big social discourse happening, like, there's Black Lives Matter, but also I can't go outside, so can I protest? But if I protest, I'm in danger, and then I come home, I put my whole family in danger? Like, what? Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot going on.
All right. But you didn't love it.
I didn't love it because the core concept, like, the crux of the book is, oh, sometimes males date down, too. And I was like, that's a terrible...
That's a lot to put on.
Yeah, if that's like the main message of the book, why?
It's a lot of pressure to put on a theme that doesn't feel that substantial. Correct.
It was funny, it was witty, there was romance, and there was comedy. What it said it was going to give me is what I got.
That's fair.
But I honestly...
I think you rated it very similar to The Community.
Okay.
So I was actually shocked when you picked this up because I was like, I've heard too many people say the exact same thing you just said of like... It was funny, but then...
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah, that's romantic comedy.
Okay.
It is what it says it is.
Good. Okay, Next. I would like to hear you talk about I want to die, but I want to eat tteok-bokki.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry about my pronunciation.
Oh, yeah, I'm probably going to say a lot of these words wrong. Well, a few of them. I know the English ones. Anyway, this is I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteok-bokki by Baek Se-hee. That's what I'm going to say wrong. And it's translated by Anton Her. This is a South Korean memoir about a girl who's going to therapy.
Okay.
A lot of the writing in this book is just transcripted conversations that she had with her therapist. And she would be like, here's the topic, or like a situation that happened that led me into this path of thinking. And then I went to my therapist and we talked about it. And I was like, that's perfect. Because that's kind of how therapy is. It's like, I go through my week, this thing happened, and you're like, wow, that was wild. I don't know what to think about it. Oh, I'll talk about it in therapy. So at the beginning of the book, I was in, because the topics discussed were very relatable to me, and I was like, oh, I need to go to therapy. So at first, I remember I was reading it, and our friends were visiting. I looked at my friend, who happens to be South Korean, and I was like, I'm gonna get wrecked by this book. And she was like, yeah? And I was like, yeah. But then that feeling just kind of faded.
Okay.
But I don't think I've ever related to a title more. Wait, no. I relate to the character illustrated on the cover. If I could be in this position, maybe minus the tears.
Maybe I've done this before. I don't know, I'm just kidding.
Just like eating tteok-bokki on my bed. If you don't know what tteok-bokki is, by the way, it is... Actually, I'm going to let you describe it, because
I don't know if I could.
It's potato.
No.
See?
What? I did not expect you to say potato.
What is it made out of? Rice. I knew
rice
that.
Cakes.
I knew it was...
So it's a Korean dish. Maybe you'll put a picture up. Is that hard? Okay.
Yeah.
Of like rice cakes, and this meal, it's typically like cylindrical, and there's cuts, so they're like this long.
Yes.
And
they're like little lakes.
The spicy sauce on it with gochujang. Yeah. There we go. And it has sometimes fish cakes in it, and my mouth is watering.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's one of my favorite things to eat in the entire world.
I'm not Korean, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, like we've established that, but it is my second favorite food of all time, I think.
Wow. I love it. I adore it. So when I saw this on the cover, I was like, that's me. I want to be eating that. The reason I rated this, I think I rated kind of mid, like maybe a 3.5, is because I usually don't remember.
I'm shocked.
As I continued reading, I just think that the issues discussed related to me less and less.
Interesting.
One, she talks about like beauty standards in South Korea.
But like, was the writing good? In that beauty standards in South Korea?
I think
section?
The writing was good, and it was very vulnerable. It was a very vulnerable book.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is me in therapy. I was having a conversation with my therapist. I think if you want to get a peek into what going to therapy might look like, this is a great book. It was solid.
Okay.
It was solid.
Very good.
Yep.
All right. You get one more, I think, before I talk about one, right?
Yeah.
Let's do Love in the Time of Cholera.
Oh, I'm actually really excited about this.
Okay, because I feel like you actually probably had a lot of 3.5 reads.
I did.
Did you have any 5 stars or
No.
4.75s? Or 4.5?
I definitely had 4.5s.
Oh my god.
I know I didn't have any 5s. There was a point when I was like, all of these books are like just rough. What happened?
That's tough. But are there books on here that you would recommend?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Honestly, this being one of them. But it's very... You gotta hear me out.
Okay,
so
I'm
this
ready.
is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And this is based at like the turn of the century from 18 and 1900s. It's in the time of cholera. Which I didn't know when that was, to be fair.
I'm bad. I'm not great at remember. Huh? Go ahead.
Okay. So our main characters are Florentino and Fermina.
Mm-hmm.
And Florentino and Fermina, basically Florentino meets Fermina when he's young. He's working for like the postal service kind of vibe, and he goes to the house to deliver a letter, and he was like, "That girl's gorgeous. I love her." And so he remember that it's old. Okay, this is old. So he kind of like sits outside of her house daily to watch her walk to school.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Not my favorite. Is he too old to be in school?
No. I think he was just poor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
right.
back off, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So eventually, her father, Fermina's dad, goes to Florentino and he's like, "Stop talking to my daughter because you and your family aren't good enough for us."
Oh.
And Florentino's kind of like, "I feel like that's maybe up to your daughter to decide." And the dad's mad. He's like, "You know what? This is the 1800s, so you're wrong." And he picks up his daughter and they move away.
That's wild.
Right?
What?
So Florentino's like... for like a long time. And like, you feel it. It's like, wow, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the relationship was going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then her dad was like, haha, bye. And then they leave, I want to say it's like about 2 years, whatever. In the meantime, there's like a shipwreck off the coast. He finds it, hires a diver. They discover the shipwreck and he's like, there's so much down there, but you need a whole entire crew to get it. And his original plan was, I'm going to get this for her. And then she'll love me. I'll be rich enough. The guy's like, no one can do this. I pulled up like a necklace. So he was like, okay, maybe that's a future me problem. Anyway, she comes back. He like is watching the harbor for her boat. Like she goes to the market. He goes to the market as well the same day. Mm-hmm. So excited. She turns around, sees him, and he's like, "Oh, like I'm here. Like, welcome back." And she basically says, on almost word for word, "Our love was an illusion." So, I read it, and I literally, mouth on the ground, I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? So.
That's tough.
It's tough.
So that's like the setup, or is that the plot?
That was like the first third. Is like you're doing it, they're kids, they're young.
I'm thoroughly intrigued, so don't tell me anymore, because I want to read it.
Okay.
Well, you can tell me like why I should read it, but I don't want to know anymore.
So, when people say it is a love story of astonishing power, yes.
Oh.
Because the commitment that Florentino has throughout the rest of his life to Fermina, she gets married to another guy. She's married to a doctor.
But doesn't he also like...
Okay, so, hear me out. Before, in our February TBR, we talked about the fact that he had 622 affairs.
That's like a lot.
And that's not all of them.
Wait, how do you know?
Had 622 long-term affairs.
Oh, wow.
In the sense that if they lasted a while, he wrote their names down in a book. If it was a one-night stand, forgotten.
How long was this person
alive
for it to be a long time?
It seems like it was like...
Because 622...
So we're in the 1800s into the 1900s. So people are getting married younger. So
I understand.
They're
what
probably...
is long term? 3 months? 2 months, a month, a week?
I don't know. I think if he saw the woman more than once, then she got her name in the notebook. Mm-hmm. So when I read that, I was like, oh, it's more than 622.
Wait, so was it an affair if the other person was married?
An affair of love, because his heart was, like, promised to...
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So he was never married. There were some times that he slept with people that were married.
It's a different thing.
He wasn't having an affair. Mm-hmm. They were having the affairs. And then finally, Fermina's husband dies.
Why'd you laugh at that? Is that a spoiler?
No. Fermina's husband dies in the beginning of the book.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, now let's go back. Just know it has a lot to do with this bird. The death has a lot to do with this bird, and I did not see that coming. I thought it was kind of funny. The one issue, the main issue, but also, like, I related to the author, is the tangents that he takes when he talks, or when he writes.
Correct.
So it would be like, Florentino was going to visit Fermina, but today, he went left at the fork instead of right. And why? Because down the left path, he could smell the scent of an apple pie on the windowsill, and he wouldn't have smelled it any other day, except for the fact that he was 5 minutes late today. And why was he 5 minutes late today? Because when he was shaving, he cut himself a little bit, and he had to deal with that, and that made him 5 minutes late. So today he took a detour on the way to, and I was like,
I like that a lot.
There were some times when I was like, that's, wow, I'm in the story, but there are other times when I was like, get to Fermina. Like, come on.
But that's the whole point.
Exactly.
You wanted to get to Fermina.
So,
but you could not.
It was better than I expected it to be. Moving on.
Very nice. Okay, you're at 3?
I'm at 3.
I think I can go now.
Go.
Okay, this will be short.
Oh.
Because
it's a short book.
It's a short book. This is, okay, don't make fun of me. You can if you want. Strunk and White, The Elements of Style. But if you're, like, in academia, you know Strunk and White. Like, if I said that, you'd be like, yeah, I had to read that. So I read this for that grant writing class, if you remember.
Yep.
And, okay, I kind of love it, though. So the first, you would actually love this as, like, a copywriter type beat. So The Elements of Style is the first chapter. And it gives you the elementary rules of usage of the English language in the United States.
Oh.
And it says, follow this rule whenever you do this. Follow this rule whenever this happens.
I like that.
And it's so concise. It's so clear. I'm obsessed with it, okay? If you want to, it's $10. You gotta buy it.
Yeah.
A lot of students or people know eats, shoots, and leaves. Maybe throw a picture up, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's what we read in high school.
I read that in high school. I like that one, but it's so narrative-based that I'm like, just give me the rules, please.
It had a cool panda on the front, though.
Yeah, so it gives you, like, how to omit needless words. So instead of saying the question as to whether, just say whether. Instead of saying, he is a man who, say he. And so it's, like, helpful to be like, oh, yeah.
Nice.
Because I think that sometimes in school, when we're children and we're in middle school and high school, we're taught to fluff. Yeah. To add words to the page to make it longer so our teacher thinks that we're writing more and we're more intelligent.
You gotta hit the word count, too.
You gotta hit the word count.
Yeah.
In grad school, it's the opposite. Yeah. You have a word limit.
Yep.
I have to write an entire research study that I conducted in 1,000 words, including references.
Yeah, you have to be succinct.
But beyond succinct. It's so annoying. 1,000 words, including references. What am I supposed to do?
I don't know. Why are you yelling at me?
I'm sorry, I'm just really upset. Okay. So yeah, it was really cool.
Nice.
I'm really grateful for it. So, and then fun fact, Stephen King on writing mentions this book. He's like, they are so concise. If you ever need a book on grammar, read Strunk and White, The Elements of Style. I don't know what Stephen King sounds like, so that wasn't an impression.
I feel like that's spot on.
Okay, anyway, so that was one of the books that I had to read, and I gave a presentation on it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was so fun. Okay, anyway. Okay, so I think I would like you to read, or to tell me your thoughts on... I want Love in the Big City, please.
Okay, so this is Love in the Big City by Song Young Park. Maybe. Sorry. Also translated by Anton Her.
Oh,
who was the one that translated I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteok-bokki. So he's good at South Korean.
Get that bag.
So this is another South Korean novel. This one is a fiction, while the other one was nonfiction. The discourse I heard about this book and the blurb on the back make it seem like it's focused on these two friends living their life together, and they're young, and they're sleeping around, and they're in their 20s.
Kind of like that book.
You got it?
Oh, no. It's gone forever.
Okay.
There's a book, though, that did everything you just said.
Okay. I believe you.
In the U.S. But I think it's set in the U.K.
To be fair, for a while, before I looked at the author of this book, I was like, oh, we're in New York. We're not in New York.
I for sure think, where else is the big city? Is it Seoul?
It's Seoul.
That's right. I'm so like used to the big city, the Big Apple.
The Big Apple, yeah.
The Big Apple, yeah.
Well,
but that's
these
fair.
are blueberries. Anyway.
This should have been my first clue.
Yeah, should have. Okay, so.
I've never heard of this book, by the way.
Really?
Ever.
Oh, okay. It's actually really good. It was one of my favorite reads from these combined months. So the reason I'm saying it seems like it follows those friends is because it only really does for the first part of the book.
Oh.
And then you follow the like male main character because the girl gets in a long-term relationship, moves out of the apartment. But the dynamic they have when they are in the apartment together is so fun.
Oh, I love that.
It's like they're in their 20s, sleeping around. They're whatever. They're not being responsible.
They're doing their thing.
They're doing their thing. But then it gets into the main character's like struggles to find long, like real relationships, and he's also dealing with the fact that his mom is getting old, and how she didn't accept his identity as he was growing up, and like tried to put all these things in place to change him, but now he's the only one taking care of her, and there's like a reluctance to be there, but also there's a duty kind of, and in the same time he's like talking about his long-term relationships that he's having with people that he meets, and that's the core of the story. I feel like is his relationship with his mom and his relationship with these other people that he's intimate with. The friendship lasted so much shorter than I thought for how much everybody talked about it. So yeah, it was witty, it was relatable, highly recommend. The writing was solid. I think I gave it like a 4.5 or something around that area.
Ooh, I like that it says, okay, so Love in the Big City is an energetic, joyful, and moving novel that depicts both the glittering nighttime world of Seoul and the bleary-eyed morning after.
It was all those things.
I'm sorry, that is so good.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote that, great job.
Phenomenal.
Oh, I might have to buy this. I'm excited. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll add this to my TBR.
Cool.
Here you go.
What's next?
I would like to... Oh, I really want to see... Boo. I want your thoughts on Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. So...
Okay. You go, because you introduced me to this.
So maybe I read like the first 4 chapters and life really got me down and I haven't been able to return to it because it's okay.
It's thick.
It's a thick book. It's a dense book, but it is one of the best nonfiction books I've read so far. The first 4 chapters. Like, I remember reading it and being like, I have to sit with that for at least a month.
No, honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Braiding Sweetgrass, this was another, like, I had finished romantic comedy on my Libby app, and I was like, I have no audiobook. I am forlorn. So I went, and I was scrolling, and then all of a sudden I saw Braiding Sweetgrass, and I didn't have to wait for it. I could just borrow it right then and there.
That's how it goes.
And I knew Sierra had talked about it. I'd seen the cover, and I was like...
I've gifted this to people.
Beautiful.
Like, it is so good.
And I started listening to it, and the author reads it, and she is so knowledgeable, and her voice is so just calming to listen to. And the way I saw it was I would put it on just while I was doing things. While I was making breakfast, while I'm driving around. And if you think about each chapter as a short mini podcast, phenomenal. So, Robin Wall Kimmerer, to slow that down, she's an indigenous and Native American woman, but she's also an ecologist.
And has her doctorate, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So she teaches ecology. She was somewhere in New York. Don't remember the school. So what this book discusses is the intersection of Native American teachings that have been passed on for generations and ecological studies. And how a lot of the things that we have discovered nowadays, thanks to science, were practices that people were already putting in place for years before America was settled. Colonized is what we'll say.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry, I got too excited. Go ahead.
So she discusses obviously like the lost generations where Native Americans were taken from their families, from their places of living, and put into American schools to be forced to assimilate to American society. And it was, I think the quote was, "Kill the Indian, save the man." And yeah.
Yep.
So there were times, and she wasn't saying it like to condemn anybody, like it happened in history, we all understand. It was bad.
Yep.
But she was saying it to further explain the reason that these things have been lost is because they were stripped away from people.
Correct.
The language, the practices, the teachings, and I had to stop in the middle of it because there's one point when I was like, the amount of times in history that we have found ourselves erasing and eradicating entire cultures and people groups is ridiculous, that we continue to go back to this practice for some reason, whether it's for land, wealth, revenge, which makes the news right now a little hard to watch. Because to think of how much we could have learned from these people is devastating. And she talks about the scarcity of these populations that we have these days. Tough.
You got me real sad.
Sorry.
Wait, can I say something real quick? Continue.
Yeah. So the way she breaks it down is she'll pick like a topic, and the topic will be a plant. It'll be sweetgrass or cedar or like salamanders. And she'll talk about how you don't really see it, but their lives are intertwined with ours. And that almost all of these Native American tribes lived in like joint connection with the environment. And the whole idea is reciprocity and gratitude. That is, if you take anything away from the book, it is reciprocity and gratitude.
It's so good.
One of the best nonfiction books I've read in my entire life. In my entire life. If I'm going to recommend a book to you, from this session of reading, it is this one. Listen to it if you want it to be easier, because it can be dense. It's a lot of facts. But oh my goodness.
The random elephant in the room that was never addressed, but doesn't need to be. You're going to discover that I read none of the books from my TBR. From February. So if you've been here on our channel, sorry.
It is what it is. Okay, one more.
And
There's also that guy over there.
Where? Oh, I didn't even see it.
Yeah,
okay, let's do that one.
Okay. Okay, this is how you lose the time war.
Okay, I heard mixed reviews on this.
So,
like when it came out, there was someone who was like, my favorite book ever, the best book I've ever read.
Yeah,
and then I heard people were like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
So, this book is written by two different authors. Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone.
Do I know that name?
Are you thinking Malcolm Gladwell? Because
yeah.
Yep. Did the same thing. Anyway, not him. So, this is also another good cover. I think I have a thing for birds and covers, because If We Were Villains was similar.
Birds are cool.
Birds are cool. Heard it here first. Birds are cool. So this book is very interesting, and it is like categorized as a romance, which
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not like the romance when you think of romance.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, you have two characters. You have Red and Blue, and they live on two separate sides. They're called Red and Blue in the book. Oh. You live on two separate sides of this time war.
What is a time war?
So, okay, so there's two factions. Red is part of one that is more like technological advancement.
Okay.
So Red is described as kind of this cyborg-esque being.
Okay.
Where they can be modified, they can like go through these updates, whatever. Blue is on the side that seems to focus more on planetary well-being. You can time travel, but it seems like you can also travel to different dimensions.
Wait.
So it's times, like up and down a timeline, and they say like up thread and down thread.
Okay.
And then you can also jump to different like lines. Okay?
Got it.
Yeah?
Yes.
You with me?
Yes.
It's tough. I did it. You can do it too. Okay. So Red will be sent on a mission and be like, you have to poison this person so that down the line, this thing will happen that will like move the time war in our favor.
They're spies.
They're spies. And then Red will go to do it, and then like right as Red is about to do it, she finds a letter from Blue, and Blue has completely sabotaged the entire plan. And it's like and it's like I knew you'd be here. I got here first, and sorry that I ruined your plan. Better luck next time.
I love that.
That is like the idea. So the chapter will start with like Red is going into this cave and blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but the thing that was supposed to be here isn't. What is here instead? A letter from Blue, and then you read the letter.
Yeah.
They're like going back and forth, and basically through these letters they like fall in love, but they can't get found out by their like supreme beings.
Yeah, because Blue's trying to sabotage Red.
Exactly.
So.
So all of it comes together, and it was better than I expected.
Okay.
You also have to remember that it's two separate authors writing for these characters, which is really cool.
That is cool.
So like Red is written by one author and Blue is written by another author, and their voices stay consistent throughout, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
It wasn't one author trying to play two brains. It was two separate brains. This is one quote from near the end. Go for it.
Just, I lied.
Yeah, it's because I acknowledged it.
Yeah.
And now it's crawling back up your nose.
I hate it. Okay, what's your quote?
So, I'm going to go, and if you sneeze, you sneeze.
Mm-hmm.
So the quote is, I sought loneliness when I was young, but when I think of you, I want to be alone together. I want to strive against and for. I want to live in contact. I want to be a context for you.
I'm struggling so much, and it's not coming. Trying to listen, but all I can feel is this stupid.
You gonna sneeze or not?
I don't know. I feel hot.
Okay, I'm gonna try this.
It hurts.
Please
all
do
in my-
not.
I feel like there's a storm inside of my head.
You need some water. What can I do for you in this scenario?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness. This is a really touching quote.
I believe you. I haven't heard a word you've said.
I know. So, take 2 on this quote. I sought loneliness when I was young, but when I think of you, I want to be alone together. I want to strive against and for. I want to live in contact on... Huh? I did it perfectly the first time.
I'm sorry.
I want to live in contact. I want to be a context for you and you for me. I love you, and I love you, and I want to find out what that means together. And I was like, huh? How did I get here?
Oh, that's really sweet.
I
love that.
It was tender. So, I think I gave this like a mid rating, like a 3.75-ish. But
yeah, that's why I didn't think you learned.
As I think back on it, I'm like, it's good.
Should I choose my nonfiction read or my fiction read?
I think we end on your fiction read. So nonfiction.
Okay. So this is also for the same class, this grant writing class, making me read all these books. I really like the class though, so okay. This is The Lean Startup by
Eric
Ries?
Ries?
I would have said Ries, but
I would have said
wrong. And this is, the little tagline says, how today's entrepreneurs use continuous innovation to create radically successful businesses.
Wow.
So, if you didn't know, I'm a business owner. So this was helpful regardless of whether or not I was taking the class. Because it talks about iterative processes in a startup. So, like, instead of creating your startup and being like, I'm going to get everything perfect before I launch, I'm going to instead do smaller batches and test it and make it better and craft and then make it scalable. Nice. So if you know me, you know that's how I like to do business. I like to start small, figure out what works, and then make it scalable. Sometimes the scalable part's hard, okay? Honestly, yeah, that's a tough thing to do. Okay.
Camera died again.
You know, that's something that I've seen on the internet, and I was like, how can it die so quickly?
Yeah, and it's also because we talk a
lot. Like a lot.
We talk a lot.
And it overheats. Didn't know that was a thing.
Poor
I'm
buddy's
learning.
just hot.
So I was talking about how this discusses iterative processes. I really enjoyed this book, gave it a 4.25. Would recommend if you're a business owner or want to start a business and need to think a little bit creatively and are just like kind of stuck in your own head about how to move forward in your endeavors or how to think outside of the box. This gives you some good ideas.
Nice.
That's pretty much it.
Cool.
All right. It's a nonfiction. I read 2 nonfictions, both for this great writing class.
Okay.
Your turn.
My next book is, I discussed it briefly in our Black History video. Go check it out if you want.
Yeah.
This is Another Brooklyn by Jacqueline Woodson. This describes, it's focused on one female character, and she has these friends that live around her when she grows up in Brooklyn. And it discusses family and friendship and loss and like the idea of just like relocation for different reasons. I don't want to spoil anything. It's a really short book and a lot happens. It's also beautiful. One of the lines that I underline, I'm a big underliner in my books. The sky was overcast. The school bell was ringing. All around us, children were running toward the entrance. Sylvia took my hand. You belong to us now, she said. And for so many years, it was true. What did you see in me? I'd ask years later. Who did you see standing there? You looked lost, Gigi whispered. Lost and beautiful. And hungry, Angela added. You looked so hungry. And as we stood half circle in the bright schoolyard, we saw the lost and beautiful and hungry in each of us. We saw home. And that was one that I read and I was like, okay, now what do I do now? You want me to just continue living my life?
Like it was before?
Like it was like the same?
Yeah, that is,
yeah.
Wow.
So it got me, and that's what it does. In such a short amount of time, it's a hard hitter. Highly recommend.
That's beautiful.
It is.
Wait, no, it comes here.
Oh yeah,
Thanks.
she wants to read it, so it's now transferred to her. Next on the list, my third nonfiction of 2024.
Honestly crushing it.
I'm so surprised. This is Becoming by Michelle Obama. This was on my February TBR, and I did it. I did the thing.
Proud of you.
Yep.
Can't relate.
Can't relate. So this was really interesting to get a more in-depth look of the presidency, the Obama presidency, both terms, how serendipitous it was that Michelle and Barack found each other because she was working at a law firm and Barack just kind of came in as his intern, who was highly rated. Everybody was like, this kid is a stud.
Mm-hmm. And she was like, okay, let's not blow his ego up.
Exactly. So he kind of got entrusted to her care, and they just kind of started chatting and whatever, and then one thing led to another, and then she became the first lady. No, there's a lot in between that.
And she describes it so beautifully and so articulately, I think.
Yes. A lot of the story that you just don't know. It's like all of a sudden they're running for presidential election, and they're like, whoa, okay. And then they win, and then they go again. And you're like, okay, cool. You get a lot more background into the campaigns that she ran herself as a first lady.
That's cool.
If you're unfamiliar with how the presidency works, the first lady will usually choose some kind of social campaign. Mm-hmm. And Michelle's was tackling childhood obesity and the foods that we eat and how they're advertised to you. Mm-hmm. She started the White House Garden that is still in place to this day, I think.
I hope.
As well as a bunch of other initiatives. And it was cool to get a reminder for her specifically that she really was her own woman without being the wife of the President of the United States. She was killing it before. She was a lawyer. She was making the money. She was doing the things. She was renowned. She was very intelligent. Is very intelligent. Mm-hmm. And she decided to partner with her husband with his crazy dream of becoming the president and wanting to change society, change the world, dare I say.
I don't know if you'd say that now.
Yeah. But, I mean, at the time, he was the first black president, so that in and of itself.
You know what?
So, anyway, that's Becoming by Michelle Obama. Highly recommend. It's a great nonfiction, a lot more insight into the lives of these people that
I love it.
You see on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my last book. So this was a spur of the moment purchase.
Okay.
I was having a, long 2 months, you heard. And so I was like, I need a lighter read. And so I picked up a YA book.
Oh.
A gasp fell out the room. And it is, the title's a little intense, but don't worry. It's So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole.
That is intense.
Basically, this is a YA fantasy novel set in a world that is not ours, but definitely reflects it.
Okay.
And it is set from the perspective pretty much of Jamaica.
Oh.
And after the war to free themselves from colonization.
Oh, okay.
It is so fascinating.
Interesting.
I will read the little beginning part.
Yeah,
so I'll give you the trope first, actually.
Okay.
It is the chosen one trope in fantasy, but in a way that I actually really liked. I typically don't like the chosen one. I'm like, okay, blah, blah, blah. But in this story, she's been chosen, and she's already had her role for a while.
Okay,
so you're coming into it, and you're like, she's the chosen one, but everybody's chill with it already.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? She's not coming of age. Yeah. It's
cool.
I'm 17, and I went to war when I was 12, and that's when I was the chosen one.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So it says, there is nothing that Farron won't do for her sister. Farron Vincent can channel the power of the gods. 5 years ago, she used her divine magic to liberate her island from its enemies, the dragon-riding Linglish Empire. I know.
Linglish Empire?
Yeah, it's tough. The naming... I'm sorry. I love you, Camilla, but the naming conventions were rough.
Anyway.
So yeah, their capital is Langley. Isn't that where you train CIA people or something in the United States?
Right.
Yeah.
Langley, yeah.
Anyway, but now, at 17, Farron is all powered up with no wars to fight. She's a legend to her people and a nuisance to her neighbors. When she's forced to attend an international peace summit, Farron expects that she'll perform tricks like a trained pet and then go home. She doesn't expect her older sister, Alara, forming an unprecedented bond with an enemy dragon, or the gods claiming that the only way to break this bond is to kill her sister.
Interesting.
It is so good.
Wow.
I will say that the writing at the beginning, I was like, this feels a little middle grade to me, but it's YA, and I was like,
so, like,
kind of annoyed, because I'm
okay.
like, I want it to be kind of at the level of, what is that book? It doesn't matter, I guess. All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir.
Oh, so different.
So All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir is a literary fiction novel that's YA, and that writing to me was exquisite for the YA level. I thought it was so well done, and it wasn't writing down to a level, it was expecting something of the reader. And I feel like this at the beginning had a little bit of trouble with that.
Got you.
But I think that the plot was so much fun. The dragons have a bond with writers, so you can like hear their thoughts, which is so cool.
Okay, got you.
And I just had a good time. I loved it. I think it's always fun when you get to read a fantasy novel that is from a different perspective than the like typically
I got you.
white facing narrative.
Yeah.
And instead you have this 17 and 18-year-old sister duo who are basically from Jamaica. Sorry, the island's called San Irie. So if you know, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
And I think it was just so much fun to read about like her favorite fruit being mangoes and like just loving it. Like that's not typical, you know.
Got you.
And like the smells and the sounds were just like very comforting, I think.
So you'll read this book about dragons, but when I try to get you to read Fourth Wing, you're like, nah.
I have literally no response. This was a debut novel, so I'm so proud of you, Camilla Cole. This is so impressive. It came out this year, 2024. So if you're interested in a YA novel about dragons, go on and get it, because I think it's such a fun book to read. Honestly, the ending, there better be a sequel.
Oh.
And honestly, I kind of want a prequel. I want to know the war.
That's fair.
I'm so curious.
Okay.
And like,
there's a whole world that we can have.
yes, and
Nice.
I'm really enjoying the world. I didn't love the writing at the beginning. That's my review.
Got you. Do you know what you rated it overall?
4.25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just had a good time. I wasn't looking to find a literary masterpiece.
Yeah.
I was looking for a YA fun read, and boy did it deliver. So, very nice.
Interesting. I gotta check
So
it
let
out.
them burn.
Okay, I got 2 books left.
2 more books.
I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry.
I could read more next time.
This is At Night, All Blood is Black by David Diop. I loved it.
I'm so happy!
I had no idea what I was getting myself into at
Okay.
all. I had read no blurbs. All I knew is Sierra's like, read it. And I was like, cool.
For a year. It's been a year.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So, this is about there's a main character. He's from Senegal, I want to say, but he's fighting for France in what seems to be World War II.
I think so.
Yeah. And it is so poetic, so poetically written, but like you get the story, right? But the use of repetition and like the cadence of the writing, you're like, this is poetry. This is you're an artist. You're an artiste. And I don't really want to get into anything that happens.
You don't need to.
I don't think I need to.
I told you nothing.
And I think that's fine. I think you read it. Blindly trust me on this one.
Be prepared to be.
Just know it's about war. People die.
Yes, and be willing to go into it with your emotions
Open.
Yeah.
Open mind.
Let yourself feel.
Wow. Okay. The therapy book was at the beginning of the video. Okay, the final book of this video.
Okay, is it your favorite or no? We'll ask it at the end. I'm sorry. Continue.
I didn't think in those terms. Anyway, actually no, Braiding Sweetgrass is my favorite. Hands down.
You said that you're going to recommend it no matter what, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Nightcrawling by Layla Motley. Now.
Oh.
No, it's good.
Oh.
Just beware. Like, read your trigger warnings before you read this book. 100%. This is about a girl. Her name is... It's nowhere. Mars, Marcus, Tony. What do you mean? Thank you. Her name is Kiara.
Sometimes you think harder, not smarter.
I really do.
That's just so
I really do. Anyway, this is about a girl. Her name is Kiara. And you get bits of her backstory as the book goes on. So you know that we start with her living in this apartment in Oakland, and it's just her and her brother. And then as like her story progresses, you get the backstory of what happened to the mom, what happened to the dad, what the brother's going through. Basically, they are in pretty deep poverty. The brother has, because of a lot of circumstances, given up on trying to find some steady job. He wants to be a rapper, like his uncle. And Kiara's like, I really need you to try to find a job so we can live. And he's like, you just don't believe in me. Like, he also went through a lot with the loss of the parents and like all that. So she's like, okay, I gotta figure something out. And that is the main, like, the crux of this book is the lengths that she decides to take in order to provide for the people she loves. And
that's really sweet. But is it bad?
It's tough. Like, she has to...
Oh, I think I know what this is about.
Okay. She has to make some tough decisions. I don't really want to get into it.
I get it. I got it.
But, like, the title, if you think about it in this specific way...
That's why I just got it.
That's what it is. If you want to get into it, but read your trigger warnings, please. If you hear me say anything about this book, it is read your trigger warnings.
But, like, would you recommend it to someone who felt comfortable with those triggers?
Yes. So, yeah, that is our wrap-up of January and February. Whether you read a ton of books... Or
just a couple,
or just a few.
Or maybe a page.
There is a place here for you. And thanks for joining us. If you read any of these, let us know what you thought about them.
Yeah.
If you have any books you want to recommend based off of these.
Correct.
Also let us know in the comments. You guys have been killing it. My TBR has grown exponentially since we started this channel.
Yes.
So thanks for checking us out.
Bye.
See you later. See ya.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.